On the morning of Tuesday, August 20th, 2024, a 911 call came into the Oneida County Sheriff's Office about a possible death in the town of Marcy, New York. Police got to the scene around 10 a.m., and Sheriff Robert Maciel said,
"A 50-year-old female was discovered deceased in her bed and identified as Elizabeth Gerling."
Welcome to Love and Murder, Heartbreak to Homicide. This is your midweek mini-episode. We are Kai's AI co-hosts, AI Jane, Jensen, and Jessica. We bring you the Wednesday and Friday episodes that Kai writes. Take a seat, take a listen to the end, and if you like our retelling, then please subscribe. You can also subscribe on our Patreon and never miss an episode. Patreon.com/loveandmurder. You can sign up for free, or you can become a voice for the victim and sign up to one of our bonus tiers. Patreon.com/loveandmurder.
Now let's get back to today's midweek mini.
because the circumstances looked suspicious, Elizabeth's body was sent to the Onondaga County Medical Examiner's office for an autopsy.
What they saw at the scene was suspicious to them because that's what they do, and they do a great job at that. They felt that this definitely was a suspicious death and warranted a full-fledged investigation.
Also, during a search of the house, police found out that a firearm was missing from the residence. Investigators quickly learned that her boyfriend, 45-year-old Jeremy Kirch from Camden, had stayed over that night and left sometime early in the morning. Based on what neighbors and witnesses said, and cell phone data putting him at the house until sunrise, detectives began searching for Jeremy as a person of interest. Turns out, deputies had actually run into Jeremy the day before Elizabeth was found. According to records, he had followed someone home and was acting strangely, telling a neighbor that he'd been, quote, led there and claimed to be, quote, following a trail of American flags. When police arrived, he was placing sunflowers on the lawn. They spoke with Jeremy and noted that some of his statements were irrational. However, they said that he was not violent at that time. Police then contacted Elizabeth, and she confirmed that Jeremy was her boyfriend. He was taken to Rome Memorial Hospital for a mental health evaluation, but was released when no immediate risk was found. They advised her to keep an eye on his mental health. Elizabeth Gerling was born on June 26, 1974, in New Hartford, New York. She was the daughter of longtime U.S. bankruptcy judge Stephen Gerling and his wife Diane. She graduated from Whitesboro Central Schools in 1992, earned her bachelor's from Plymouth State University in 1996, and went on to get her master's in English education from Syracuse University in 1998. She spent 5 years teaching on a Navajo reservation before returning to Central New York in 2004. Elizabeth taught English at Proctor High School and JFK Middle School, eventually becoming assistant principal at Proctor. In 2013, she stepped into the role of principal at Columbus Elementary in Utica, a job she truly loved. Her co-workers remember her as a bright light in the school, someone who led with warmth, loved her students fiercely, and brought beauty to the building with her art and gardening. Outside of her career, Elizabeth was a daughter, a sister to 2 siblings, and a mom to son, Noah Gerling, who was born on the Navajo reservation in 2004. In her free time, Elizabeth loved art. She spent hours drawing, painting, and doing chalk art. She loved being outdoors in her garden, going to country concerts and spending time by the ocean. She had a soft spot for animals and was known for her thoughtful gift-giving. She just loved making other people feel special. Jeremy J. Kirch from Camden, New York, had worked in local construction before suffering a traumatic brain injury a few years ago. Since then, he'd struggled with memory issues and bouts of erratic behavior. People who knew him described him as soft-spoken and polite, but in the weeks leading up to August 2024, his family became increasingly concerned. Elizabeth and Jeremy had been dating for several months after meeting through mutual friends in late 2023. She was drawn to his calm nature, and he often joined her at school events and family gatherings. But in the days before her death, things began to unravel, and she'd started telling people that she was concerned about his mental health. With the investigation focusing on Jeremy, police reported a troubling phone call between Elizabeth's son and Jeremy, where Jeremy claimed he'd left her house around 6 a.m. after dropping off flowers and a ring on her doorstep, apparently as a proposal. Meanwhile, over in downtown Rome, police were getting reports about a naked man running through the area. That man turned out to be Jeremy. Officers picked him up and took him to Rome Memorial Hospital for a mental health evaluation. It was noted that Jeremy had no criminal background on file and showed no signs of alcohol or drug influence at the time. The very next day, August 21st, the medical examiner ruled Elizabeth's death a homicide. The cause of death was asphyxia by strangulation. Police went back to the hospital, briefly interviewed Jeremy, and then brought him to the Kurt B. Wyman Law Enforcement Building for further questioning. During this questioning, investigators said that Jeremy, quote, made some statements with his involvement in the crime. Based on this, Jeremy was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. This charge carries a potential sentence of 25 years to life if convicted. He pleaded not guilty and was remanded without bail, with the judge citing both the severity of the offence and concerns for community safety as reasons for the decision. Sheriff Macchiol said,
"Our investigation is thorough, and we are confident the evidence will support the charges against Mr. Kirch."
On August 26th, defense attorney Luke Niebusch formally requested a psychiatric evaluation to determine if Jeremy was mentally competent to stand trial. He also talked about his concerns about his client's ability to understand the charges against him and participate meaningfully in his own defense. Prosecutors indicated their case would hinge on Jeremy's own custodial admissions, cell phone data placing him at the scene until dawn, and the forensic findings. Defense counsel promptly filed motions to suppress Jeremy's statements and challenge the scope of the search warrants executed on his car and camper. Meanwhile, Oneida County Court Judge Michael Dwyer ordered a comprehensive mental health evaluation. The court mandated not one, but two separate psychiatric examinations, each conducted by different mental health professionals. This dual assessment approach is usually reserved for cases where questions of competency could substantially impact proceedings. Throughout September and October, court sessions were repeatedly adjourned as officials waited for the results of these evaluations. On May 23, 2025, Jeremy's pretrial started. Judge Robert Bauer heard arguments from District Attorney Todd Carville and Kirch's defense attorney over what evidence should be allowed at trial. The judge denied the defense's request to throw out Jeremy's statements to police and the evidence collected from his car and camper, ruling that everything had been properly obtained. But he did agree to hold several hearings, including one to decide whether Jeremy's recorded statements were voluntary, and another to look at the legality of his arrest and the search warrants used on his property. There will also be a Sandoval Ventimiglia hearing to figure out what behavioral history can be introduced if Jeremy testifies. However, the court denied the defense's motions for access to surveillance footage from Elizabeth's home, a change of venue, and an electronic copy of all discovery materials. The next round of hearings is set for July 17, 2025. That's when the defense will revisit arguments like Jeremy allegedly not knowing his jail calls were being recorded. No trial date has been set yet, and his mental competency evaluation is still being reviewed. Once all these hearings are finished, both sides will start planning their opening statements, witnesses, and expert testimony as they prepare for a jury trial. Superintendent Christopher Spence said,
"Ms. Gerling was not just an exceptional educator and leader, but also a dear friend and colleague to many."
The Utica City School District posted a remembrance for Elizabeth stating,
"Our hearts are heavy as we mourn the loss of our beloved principal. Ms. Gerling's dedication to our school community will forever be remembered. In honor of her legacy, a scholarship fund was established to provide annual scholarships to graduating Proctor High School seniors who attended Columbus Elementary.
What do you think of the future of this case? Do you think Jeremy should be able to plead innocent by way of insanity? Before you answer, take his traumatic brain injury into consideration. Not that I'm giving any excuses. I'm just saying that I hope that they actually do a comprehensive mental health evaluation to fully ensure that Jeremy was not in his right mind at the time of the incident. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.
Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Patreon. Kai started the Deadly Duo series last Thursday. The first episode was free and was about an 18-year-old Heather Mack and her boyfriend Tommy Schaefer, who murdered her mother, Sheila von Wiesemack. After beating her to death in a hotel room, they stuffed her body in a suitcase and fled. A decade later, Heather's story isn't over. Go to the Patreon and listen to this case. Patreon.com/loveandmurder. If you want more Deadly Duo cases, more bonus episodes, and to be the voice of the victim, then join the Patreon at the $10 a month tier. Patreon.com/loveandmurder. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening to the end. And we'll see you in the next episode.